And to have that title, obviously, you know, people don't want to mess with you in a sprint finish. And with the draft legal races, a lot of people here don't understand. We have, obviously, the draft zone. And Noosa is one of the only elite races in Australia where it's a draft. You obviously can't draft in that event. But you've been in both and obviously working on your training for the sprint distance. But how's things going for you looking in Sydney? Obviously, an Olympic distance event. Looking at the course, a multi-lap course, you've got to be good with your criterium sort of skills on the bike. Generally, your race strategy, where you're normally placed in the swim, where you try and put yourself, and then on the bike, you just go round and round and then wait for the run. How do you normally approach a Sydney event when you've got so many heavy hitters? Emma Snowsill, Emma Moffat, just to mention a couple of the Australian super freaks, and you're one of them as well. But how do you approach a race when you're in that at Sydney?
It's quite nervous actually, it's very dynamic. You can't afford to do any mistakes. You need to have a good swim to put yourself in a good position. And the biking is maybe not so much getting ahead, but to conserve energy and to make sure you're in the right position, taking the corners in the right way, not having to accelerate too much or working too hard. And then you want to be in a good position, come off the bike and just play your cards 100%.
It is flat stick, you know, like you've got to run quick. For you to win Sydney, you get off the lead pack. We're just going to put ourselves ahead because you're training in Canberra with your coach down there. What run do you think you're going to need? Because there's a lot of people here that want to get a spot in the age group race. You know, what an iconic event. Beautiful Sydney Harbour, the Opera House, the backdrop. There will be thousands. You know, we do know that World Championships and ITU races are very significant. You can use the crowd a bit, but just say you've come off, probably, I think there'd be about 30 women there. We've got the results in our hand, and after this, we'll get going. What sort of run will you have to go to win it? Because I know there's normally people flat like Emma Snowsill will go out pretty hard if she's there and she's in form and try and put the tempo one real quick to put daylight there. But generally from the multi-lap, I think it's 3 laps or 4 laps on the run, I think in Sydney. When do you say, right, I'm running with a group of girls, I'm comfortable but I'm sort of up there. When do you sort of try and surge? You leave, because I know you've got a pretty good sprint finish. Crystal ball, perfect race. What do you think, what split you're going to have to run in the 10K? To dust the girls if you have to.
If Snowsill does make the swim pack and hangs on the bike, she's going to be a very hard contender. And it's almost, if she goes out hard, there's no way I can go with her. I'm just going to have to do my own race. Normally we're not with a kind of a main group of 4 or 5 girls. And the coach says the race starts at 7.5K. So you conserve the energy, put yourself in a good position. 7.5K, you put on all cylinders and you try to kind of listen to the people, see what happens. And then you kind of decide. In Sydney it's always a big hill. I wouldn't go, knowing all my contestants, and Barbara Riveros, who won last year, is my training partner. I wouldn't leave it to the downhill because she would nail it down the hill. So I would try to go maybe coming out of from underneath the Opera House, going up the hill. That's where I put down the hammer.
You know, in Sydney 2000, at home of the Olympic Games, that was where significant races were done by all the athletes. That part. You know, the elite athletes, it's what you do. You visualise. You know the course back to front. You know where the corners are. You know where you need to be. Obviously, coming into that transition, for people who don't know, when you come off the bike and there's a massive group of you, how crazy is that when you want to be at the front, you want to get first into transition. Obviously, you've got to relax in transition because the fourth part of a triathlon, besides nutrition, is the transitions. You practice those regularly, but it's pretty crazy.
You know, the golden rule is you go 90%. You never go flat out, you go 90%. You do it well and as fast as you can, but not stressing too much. My goal is always to come in the top 5 somewhere, because then I have a free position. I know where my stuff is, I don't have a lot of girls. Saying that we do have like nice little numbers, we do have boxes. It's not as hectic as out here, you know. You can actually see where your bike is and where your stuff is. But transition is crucial. You can lose a race in transition.
All right, well, last question before we get this under the rug, because I know people want to get going. Look, it's a great pleasure to have someone of your notoriety and of your talent here, and coming to Canberra to train. We know it's a bit above sea level. It's a hard place to train, you know, and you've got a great team around you. You know, we'd like to adopt you as an Australian because I know you love coming here. And ladies and gentlemen, truly, you are amongst greatness here because the women in Australia smash it. But I can tell you, there's one person, a couple that they fear, but this is one of them who they know, if she's up there on the run, are going to be brutal. Look, we wish you well. Thank you for coming to Kurnell. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together, Lisa Norden, everyone. Wish you well.